Hey, this is Jonathan with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast, and I have with me as a guest, Alec Chapman. How's it going, Alec?
Hey, it's doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. So we were having a little pre-conversation here, and you were saying something about the Happiness Podcast and things of that sort.
Yeah, I was just saying that having a podcast is so great because you reach so many more people, and especially when you're trying to build your multifamily investing career, it's a great way to reach out and reach more people. And both people in the podcast usually are learning, and also the viewers are learning as well. So it's a win-win-win situation for everyone. So.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And so for those who are listening, you can also watch us on Facebook channel, and I think we're on most of the other podcasting media, so you can find us. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to call myself a guru, and even if I do become ultimately a guru, I want to be able to learn. So I apologize. I thought I had my phone here on on mute.
Yeah.
That's one of those little things that I'm learning still in the podcast world. So, Alec, you and I met through another mutual acquaintance, and I was looking at some property in I was in Phoenix, and you happen to be in Phoenix already, right?
Definitely. Yeah. So I'm here in Phoenix. I've been in Phoenix since 2014. I originally had moved from Naples, Florida to Sedona, Arizona in about 2008. And then after going through school in Sedona, I decided on going to ASU. I went through their business program. I went through the real estate program. And then right after graduating, I got lucky enough to go on the Real Estate Guys Summit at Sea. And it's a 10-day real estate investing cruise. And it goes through all sorts of investing, mainly real estate, but it was an absolutely amazing experience. I feel like it was a college education in 10 days, and I learned so much. And it was huge personal growth for me, and that's where I found my passion in multifamily real estate investing.
So then you mentioned that you went through a real estate course with ASU. So was that a graduate level course, undergrad course, or?
That was an undergrad course. That was just the real estate minor. So it was real estate law, real estate investments, things of that matter. And it's funny because my real estate investments class, the furthest we got was doing pro formas for single family rentals. We didn't go any further than that at all. So I wish we would have dove further then, but because all the other students in that class are kind of really just still there. I mean, I've talked to quite a few of them, and they really haven't, I tell them what I'm doing, and they're very shocked, and they're like, oh my God, how did you find out about that? How are you able to do that? Stuff like that. So I definitely took into account investing in myself and my education, and that's how I stumbled into this. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. So you left school, you went to the real estate guys cruise. I think that's Mr. Helms who runs that, right?
Yes, it is. Yep. It was a 10-day real estate cruise through the Caribbean. So it was 6 days on the cruise ship learning. It's every asset class: self-storage, land flipping, wholesaling, RALs. I mean, even precious metals. It goes on. And then it was 4 days of island hopping and hanging out with all these real estate rock stars and getting to know them. So
So what was the thing that kind of tipped the scales? Because again, you were doing pro formas for single families. It reminds me of some other stuff I'd done in the past, but I mean, why? What hit the thing to say multifamily investing?
Yeah. So every lunch and dinner, you're at a round table, and you pick who you want to sit at the round table with. And I got lucky and had got Brad Sumrock, who's the apartment king. And I had dinner with him, and he was telling me he's making X million a year. He's paying no taxes through cost segregation, bonus appreciation, and how he's growing his net worth at such a fast rate, like year over year, just going up by many millions. And I was just like, I've always wanted financial freedom. I've always loved real estate. At first, I wasn't sure what avenues, so I immediately got my real estate license actually before going on this cruise, and then once I heard that, I was just hooked from there. And I learned about the other asset classes, but I really like multifamily specifically because not only are you making really good money, it's also you're affecting people's livelihood, and that's a feel good part of it with me. I feel good making people's lives better, knowing they can be the best person they can be, through living at our property. So
Now you could have done that with single family real estate, affecting lives as you will. But
mhm,
and again, I keep drilling down into this just so that people understand, kind of where you're coming from, because you're a rock star in your own, in your own right, in terms of you're going
yeah,
already past what some of your colleagues have already said. And I'm just trying to get down to that other thing about other than helping people out. What was it for you? Because you've said a bunch of stuff here that I want to make sure that I pause and let everybody know kind of what you said. Number one, you kind of did this thing called the cruise, and
mhm,
that obviously was an investment. I'm sure it wasn't like $2.50.
yeah,
But you invested to be around people who were actually doing the work. So
mhm,
that's number one. Sometimes
definitely.
when we go to real estate investment associations, people aren't necessarily doing the work. You want to get around those who are actually doing the work. That's number
Mhm.
one. And then number two, you listened to what they had to say and you picked a lane to go down, and you went down that lane. You obviously knew that you wanted to be in real estate because you said you got your license before this. So is that residential or commercial license that you got?
Residential.
So you're a residential broker out in Phoenix?
Yeah, residential salesperson.
Okay. So what do you mind talking? I mean, look, we're not sponsored by any person
Yeah.
or anything at this point in time. So we're giving this information out to everybody, as a gratis. No one is sponsoring us. We're just talking about the things that we're doing realistically that, you can also do. But what brokerage are you with?
So I'm with Coldwell Banker. I started this was last September. My mom is actually a top agent in Sedona. I'm in Tempe. And so she, at any given time has, 10, 12, 15 listings and also a few buyers. So she was getting overwhelmed with the amount of people she had, and she was just giving referrals out to everyone in the office, like just giving out so many referrals. And after, she kept telling me, literally a new girl came in the office, she gave her 2 referrals. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to step in, work with you part-time. It will make it fun. And so I've been doing that part-time, and I've had some success with that. And, I've learned a lot about the residential side. It's more emotional, instead of, on the commercial side, it's all numbers. It's not emotional. And so I've learned both sides of it. And the residential allows me to continue to stack up money to invest in multifamily. And to your point earlier with, why I got so interested in multifamily over the single family rentals is because of the scalability. You can scale so much faster and quicker with multifamily. And if you have, you get you can go out and get a few houses, but if something breaks, you have to call a repairman. He's got to go out and fix it, instead of having everything in one certain area, under one roof with most of the same parts. And you can stack up parts, things like that, where it's a less cost to fix things, and it's less hassle, and just more being closer together, less risk. And that's why, another reason why I went after multifamily. So
That's good. That's good. A
mhm.
couple other things that you said I want to just make sure I'm stressing here. One of the things you mentioned is your mom
Yep.
actually was in the business and actually had leads, for somebody listening there say, hey, my mom's not in the business. But there are real estate agents that are out there that are very good and have been around for a very long period of time that
Mhm.
may not have the hustle, to get up and go. I remember a saying actually comes from the Bible that says
Yeah.
that he called the young because they're strong and the old because they know the way. So your
Mhm.
mom knew the way, but you had the strength to be able to go out there and handle those leads. Find
Yep.
somebody who has a bunch of leads, go learn the business from them.
Definitely.
So that's one thing. Number two, you mentioned that the reason why you wanted to get into commercial rather than residential is because residential is very emotional. And while you're doing that right now, as you mentioned, to stack up money, because you're going to need some seed capital when you're in the commercial space. And so
Definitely.
that's helping you to do that. you recognize that you prefer to deal with the numbers. So
Yep.
did you have like an engineering background? Are you more analytical of a person type thing, or how did
Uh,
you make that determination?
no, I I have, goals to get, my net worth to a certain number by a certain time, and things like that. I mean, I just want to scale so quickly and, become large in the multifamily space. And so I didn't see being able to get to where I want to go going the single family route. I felt like it'd be way more work, and it'd take way more time. Whereas with multifamily, I can grow quicker, faster, so.
Got it.
Yep.
So you had mentioned that you're out here in this game. You've been doing some things. Again, I was referred to you by someone else that's in the game. They aren't necessarily a syndicator, but they're a vendor of sorts in my network. Again, on another podcast, I mentioned your vendors have leads.
Yep.
Make sure
Definitely.
you go and figure out who your vendors are. And so you happen to be a lead because your boots on the ground in
hmm
the Phoenix, Arizona area, and we were trying to work potentially on a deal after we got to know each other for a little while.
Yep.
And you've been doing that with some other more seasoned syndicators. And I
Yep.
think you had a deal not too long ago from the time that we're shooting this. You, tell us about that deal. I think that there's a lesson here.
Yeah. So, okay, there's been a few deals, but that one in particular that you're talking about, I had brought in a capital raiser for a local syndicator, and the capital raiser that I brought in was from out of state, and I won't give any names, but he
Please.
brought in 4 million cash in 3 hours into a deal. And then I was supposed to be a part of the deal, and I was assured by the other parties in the deal that I would be a part of the deal for bringing in this guy. And so then last minute I found out I wasn't a part of the deal, and things were closing and stuff like that. So
Okay, pause. That that was a lot.
yeah.
You had built up enough of a network where you're able to have somebody or know someone who has $4 million in cash to give to a particular deal. And you brought that person in and you had a conversation with the person who was going to be the operator in this thing.
Mhm.
Was there any paperwork exchanged, or it was just pretty much a handshake conversation kind of deal?
That's the way it was.
Okay.
I you know The operator right now is making things right. He reached out to me recently. We had a meeting, and I'm going to get cut into another deal. And obviously, with the SEC laws, you can't just bring in money and get
Right.
compensated. You also have to do something else. So I'll be doing some asset management
Yeah.
in the deal coming up, but and also raising additional funds for the deal. But I'll be cut into a deal here pretty soon with him. And then, I've just, going to a lot of conferences for multifamily last year. I went to about 8 of them: Rod Khleif, Michael Blanc, Brad Sumrocks, some local ones in Phoenix. They do, every city, there's these certain forums. They have all the local brokers come. It's more of a conference for the local brokers. So I was going to those just to get my name out there and just to meet them face to face and to show that I'm
Now, which
serious.
one was that you were going to?
I'm trying to think now.
I
It's
mean,
a
if you can't disclose,
yeah.
I understand.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I can totally disclose that conference, but I'm just trying to think what it is. I honestly, I don't know why I can't think of the name right now, but it's a traveling conference. It goes city to city, and it's for all the brokers, and it's market updates, and it's lender updates, and things like that. And so I was going to those. They do them for different asset classes as well. So I was going to the multifamily one right when I was leaving. Retail was about to start, but yeah, it's just for the brokers. So I would go to the conferences for the brokers just to meet new ones, get my face out there, exchange contact info, things like that. But a very strong asset that I have is my connections, and going to all these conferences. I really started last March in the multifamily space, but I went hard with all the conferences, and I was like every month going somewhere, and then after the conference, I'd meet up with people, and then we'd go look at their deals, or I'd go meet other people, and it just it really snowballed where I'm in a very good position now with the connections that I have for if I needed like a lead sponsor, or I needed someone to cover the, the net worth liquidity, or I needed some capital raise, something like that, I can just reach out to my network, few phone calls, couple emails, and I feel like I could put something together. Just, from investing in myself, going to these events. And then, you start seeing a lot of the same people over and over again. You start solidifying those relationships. And then I always obviously follow up, and then continue to follow up. Hey, how are you? What's new? Things like that. So definitely putting your face out there, going to events is huge.
It definitely is. You're reminding me of a call that I need to be on tonight. It's a virtual networking call that does exactly that. You continue to just show up, you show your face, you try to add value as much as you can to the places that you're in. I think those are some, again, good takeaways from what you mentioned. Also, it's very important and glad to hear. We talk about this business being relationship focused. And I mean, I've heard that. But, you really, the relationships and what you bring to the table and who you are really, really shows forth. And again, the community is quite small. So it's smaller than what you think. But yeah, and so you have to put yourself out there as a great actor, and it sounds like you are. Another thing that you mentioned, and I think I will say Mauricio Rold, A-R-A-U. Yep. Raoul, is that how you pronounce it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Also has a couple of videos about how to raise money. The SEC rules have changed, I think, a little bit. And you're right. You cannot just say, oh, I need somebody who can bring money and bring them on, and then all of a sudden make them a part of the GP or the general partnership. That person must do something. They must be, there's a lot of things to do on the general partner side when it comes to operation. You have not only just the finding and sourcing the deal, but you have due diligence. You have, managing the property manager, doing asset management, meaning making sure that the asset is performing as best as possible, doing relationships with investor relations, making sure that people get information and communication about the property and how it's moving forward. And so partnering again with someone who's a little bit more seasoned, who did that in the past, again, that whole older, younger thing. And it may not necessarily be age in as much as seasoned ability in the industry, where they may not want to do that anymore, but they'll be happy to teach you so that you can handle that particular aspect of their deals. And I've actually had a couple of seasoned people say, hey, if I get into this deal, would you be interested in coming with me? Because I know that you could probably take on some of those things. And so that's very, very positive. I'm just trying to kind of distill some of the positive things that you mentioned as bullets for people out there, because one of my other mentors mentioned, says success leaves clues. And I believe that's a Jim Rohn quote. And the success that you're having is definitely leaving clues for somebody else who's coming along. So what are you doing now? I know you said you've had a couple other deals. You want to talk about any of those? I mean, we talked about one that kind of was a little rocky, but it got back obviously into good standing, and I'm happy for you on that one. Are there any other deals that you want to talk about that you are doing or that you want to do?
Well, there's two other deals that I was working on recently. Well, we put an offer in on a 44 unit in Phoenix, and then a California investor with a 1031 came in and overpaid. So that got, but it's all good. We're not going to overpay for something. And so, we offered $4.1 million for 44 units. I believe it was about $93K a door. And so that was in Phoenix, and actually that's under market for price per door. And in the area, we thought there was about a $2.4 million opportunity on it. And then, but obviously we'd have to invest quite a bit of CapEx and things like that. So, and then also we had a 15 unit townhome development deal. So, two partners of mine. One is a developer. He's done commercial, retail strip malls. He had a contract with Panda Express, Mickles craft store. And then luxury homes, $1 million to 1.5, something like that in Arcadia. He just sold one. Now he's got another one he's about to finish up. But we had, got a piece of land under contract. We had it rezoned, and we wanted 27 townhomes. The city came back, said we can only do 15. We had an architecture build all the plans up for us. We needed to raise about 2.4 million for it. And then we just, after, we thought our numbers were pretty good. And then we had multiple pro forma type, companies review our numbers, not the property address and things like that, but really dig deep in our numbers and really beat up our numbers. And then in the end, it was looking like maybe a 4 cap, something like that. And then we weren't going to, we weren't going to get paid for, a year, something like that too. So we decided we're just going to stick with the value add strategy, which is just basically buying, 80s, 90s product that needs, we can do lighter, heavy value add, but just basically fixing up older product, turning units. And when you are able to fix up a unit and get it, ready to rent again, usually you can get quite a bit of an increase on the rent, which in turn increases the building's value. And that's the real magic in multifamily. When, there's that little bit of increase in rent, it's a huge increase in the value. That's where it clicked for me. That's where I really found my love for multifamily. Was that was it right there. So
there you go. So you've had a couple of deals that kind of off the roads, but then this third one is turning out great because you're going to be added as a GP doing some asset management, and hey, you're off into the races, and so you'll be a part of, I'm pretty sure, 50 or more units right then and there, and starting your career. So I mean, is there anything else? I mean, what else are you looking to do? Are you looking to, GP your own thing, or you just want to partner with other, operators that are out there right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now I'm looking to more partner with other operators to, because then I also, talking with brokers and stuff like that, it's a little tough when you're talking with them and they ask, how many deals have you done? How many doors do you own? Stuff like that. Well, if you partner with someone who has, doors and has done many deals, now you can leverage their experience to say, my partners and I have done 500 plus units. We now, we currently own 250 in the Phoenix market. We're looking to add, X amount. And so when you're starting off, it's a great idea to do that. And then once I get rolling, I'm looking to definitely, find my own deals and bring others in to that. So. Yep.
Well, I'm going to tell you, that's a very wise thought process. I was at a Michael Blank's conference last year, 2019, and I was talking to Neil Bulla. I didn't know who he was at the time. Yeah. I was just in a group of people, and he said the exact same thing. If you're brand new, partner with a seasoned operator and move forward from there. And it does make sense, especially if you're able to do, some deal finding, and you bring them something that makes sense. They'll beat it up really good for you, and they're there to help make it happen, because they can not only bring capital themselves, they can also bring other people on the LP side. I said I'm using the words GP and LP because we know what those mean. Let me explain. Yep. So general partnership, generally what happens when you're purchasing real estate, and again, you need to talk to your own attorney. I'm not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. You have to talk to them about this. But generally what we're seeing is that real estate on a multifamily side is purchased using, an LLC or some sort of entity of sorts. And then there are generally two classes of investors. There are those who are the GP or general partners, and they're the ones who are really managing and driving the transaction and the asset such that it appreciates and it does perform. Then there's a second class of people generally investing, is called the LPs, or limited partners. They generally have a say or not have a say, depending on how the documents are drawn up. And generally, they're just investing passively, if you will, into investments. And, they look for good, strong partners on the GP side in order to be able to drive that. But they're there as well. So they can not only bring a seasoned operator, not only bring money of their own into the general partnership side, but they can also bring additional investors to you on the limited partner side as well. So partnering with someone more seasoned people is great. And in the future podcast that I have, I'll be talking to some seasoned operators as well that, you might be able to partner with, other people may be able to partner with, and we can learn a little bit more about how they got to be seasoned,
Mm-hmm.
and some tips that they have for us who are newbies and trying to get into a deal, and what kinds of things would provide them value. Because again, if we're providing them value, that ultimately will allow us to potentially get into a deal with them, and then ultimately be able to start our own or manage our own projects. So
Yep. Definitely.
I'm gonna stop talking here.
Yeah.
You said so much good stuff. I wanted to make sure I was, communicating the other part of that for other people. Yeah.
Definitely. So it's a two-way street. So, you want to always add value, and then, hopefully others will add value to you in return. And so that's what I always try to do. And it's paid dividends for me. It's actually, I'm so grateful that I do that, because it's helped me get to where I am now. For example, I have a friend who, it also is an operator in Phoenix, who hosts a meetup, and I help him out with the meetup, checking people in and just just helping set up the meetup. And that's huge, because I now know every single person at the meetup. I've talked to every single person at the meetup. They know who I am. And then, soon he's going to have me, doing some short spiels, on the stage to everyone, just letting them know, where I started, where I'm at now, and where I'm going. So
what meetup is that, so people know which meetup to meet you?
Yeah, so that's the Phoenix Multifamily Meetup. It's hosted about once a month, usually at ABI Multifamily. That's a brokerage in Phoenix that specializes in multifamily. And yeah, once a month. And there's a lot of value there. Speakers fly in. There's always food, and it's a great time. So you're gonna meet not only other operators, other people doing deals. You're gonna meet insurance people, other lawyers, real estate lawyers, the list goes on. You're going to meet other people that you're going to need in your deal. So, you need a lot of people to get a deal done. So and if you a larger deal, so, you'll be able to meet all these other parties, and a lot of people there have already worked with these people. So, you can get their experience, how they've, how it has been working with these people. So, yeah.
So you said something else that is very powerful. You said,
Mm-hmm.
I joined this meetup, but I decided to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
And I volunteered with, quote unquote, the menial stuff. I'm there checking everyone in. But the result is you get to meet everyone.
Yeah.
So again, that's another way for someone who's trying to get started to do is, how can I serve? I remember I was talking some years ago with another mentor of mine, and he was, I was in computer science. Got my degrees in that. And he was in North Carolina working for IBM. Was just getting started. And they said, hey, we have a picnic coming up. And he's like, okay. And he's like, well, we want you to be a photographer. He's like, oh, be a photographer. But being the photographer was the coveted job, because you got to meet everybody and you got to take pictures of all of the senior people, and they got to meet you as well. So don't let an opportunity like serving and volunteering be considered a bad thing. Let it be a good thing for you to be able to meet everybody. So that's perfect. There was one other thing that I wanted to ask you, and I'll let you go. I know you're busy. You're a realtor, and it still is daylight out where you are in Phoenix. So you mentioned that you provide value to those contacts that you meet. You meet someone, let's just get hypothetical, you meet someone at one of these ABI multifamily meetups, and you say, hey, my name is Alec, and I'm a realtor, and I want to get a multifamily. How do you provide value to that particular person? How do you identify it? How do you follow up with them? Can you give us a little bit of that? And then, that might help, again, some other people who are trying to get started.
I just figure out where they're at and figure out what they're looking for. And if I have, a contact, or I have some information that would help them find what they're looking for, I provide that. So I just basically try to figure out where they're at in their investing journey and what they're, looking for, what they need, things like that. And, and then just give it to them. So, that's just basically it. So
you do the go-giver thing. I think there's a book. Have you read the book?
I've read that book a while ago, but it was a great book. I highly recommend it.
Yep. So again, if you're a newbie, you're trying to figure this out, having that go-giver attitude will help extend things a long way. So go get that book, Go Giver. And if you read it, once you read it, you'll listen to this podcast and recognize that's exactly what Alec has done. He's out there providing value. He's out there giving before asking anything. If you read The 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person, you'll remember one of the habits is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So you're doing that, you're personifying that, you're a rock star, you're making it happen. How can people get in contact with you, Alec?
Yeah, so either by phone or email. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. So my number is 928-301-1291, and my email is Alec, AlecL, and then Chapman, CHAPMAN @gmail.com.
And I would say, please go ahead and make sure you reach out to him right now, because in the future, I'm pretty sure that number will change, that email address will change, because he'll be a highly sought after operator. And we want to say thank you so much for everything that you've done for Red Boot LLC and being gracious enough to join us here. And if there's anything that we can ever do for you to help you in your career, please let us know. We want to make sure that we do that for you. And for everybody else who's listening and watching, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and look out for some more. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan.
Bye-bye.